everyone, welcome to today's episode of Show Me How It's Done. This is our 4th week of this class, so if you have missed some of the episodes, feel free to go back and rewatch them. They're always on my Facebook page for you to enjoy. But today I thought we would get a little Christmassy and that I would show you one of the projects that I made at my Handmade for the Holidays event in October. So I host an all-day event every spring and every fall, and this was one of the Christmas projects that we made. So it's an adorable little box, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay, so we're going to start with the box base. So I'm going to set the lid aside, and this is what we're worrying about at the moment, okay? It's not scary. Don't worry, we can get this. So what you're going to start with is a piece of crumb cake cardstock. It is going to measure 8 inches. So if you put it on your scoreboard, you can see it's 8 inches by 6 and 3/8. So if you're on your scoreboard, you're noticing it's only at the 3 tick mark. If you're on your trimmer, then you're going to have to count that out a little bit more. So again, 8 inches by 6 and 3/8. And we're going to take our little stylus here and score it at 2 inches on all 4 sides. So 2-inch mark, draw a line down, rotate, and 2 inches all 4 of these directions. Okay? There we go. So now you'll want to make sure to have, you can move your scoreboard out of your way for now, you will need it again. You'll want to make sure to have a stylus handy and some scissors. So with our stylus, we're going to fold on all the lines. Make a nice crisp line all of these directions, okay? And that just helps our box stay closed and keep its shape, which is really helpful when you're working on it. Okay, so now with your scissors, we're going to do a little cutting, okay? But don't get scared, we will be fine. So you're going to have this facing, keep the rectangles facing towards you, okay? So don't have it up and down with the skinny part. You want it horizontal, the longest side. This is facing your body, okay? If you end up turning it and doing it the other way, you'll be fine as long as you follow the directions. But let's all do the same thing and keep this facing our bodies. So with your scissors, you're going to cut up the score lines on either side of this middle rectangle here. Only go to the line here. Do not go past, okay? So 1 and 2, you now have 2 little flaps like so. You're going to turn this all the way over so that we're doing the same thing to the opposite side of your paper, okay? So once again, 2 lines cut straight up to that score line. And what we're left with is these little flaps. Now, you could fold them over and make a box right now, but what you'll notice is some of those pieces, they like to stick up, and that kind of looks ugly. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim our flaps. They do not have to be perfect. They're going on the inside of your box. Do you see this? They're on the inside of your box. Once you put a little fake grass or tissue paper, no one's seeing it. But all that I usually do is I like to just cut a triangle from one corner to its opposite, okay? And you can see it's not perfectly straight. It doesn't need to be, okay? So cutting these triangles like so. All right, keep going. You can have this facing yourself if it's more comfortable. And if you really want to make sure you don't mess up, you could always turn it around and keep cutting the same direction. But as long as you're cutting down from the middle point, you'll be fine. Okay. All right, so this is what you should end up with, is some little flaps now that will easily be able to attach to your box. So to attach them, I like to turn this box over. The nice little mound is kind of pointing up at me right now. This is where I'm going to put my adhesive. So you can use our Tombow liquid glue if you're somebody who maybe wants a little bit of play. You know, if you've put down your little piece on the inside here and you realize the edges are overlapping, they don't look great, the glue gives you that perfect movement to be able to adjust. You can also use glue dots, however you'll have to use a few of them. So I kind of prefer just using tape or glue for this project. But you all know me, you know I'm a tape person, so I'm just going to quickly do that. Gives you a chance to catch up too, if you're following along. But you can also just watch and enjoy, maybe make this later. Some of you were at my all-day event, but at least this gives you a video copy now of what we did. All right, so I like to make sure that I've got, you know, a few points for my little flaps to attach. And I could, if I wanted to, go ahead and assemble right now. However, I'm going to give you a little tip, and that is, while your project is down, it is so easy to decorate the sides. So that's what we're going to do, okay? So you're going to need some pattern paper and some cardstock. I chose to use soft suede for my base, and then I used the Poinsettia Splendor pattern paper for my designer series paper, okay? So for these two rectangle sections, don't worry about this middle one because that's the bottom of your box. Nobody's seeing that, it's just going on the bottom. So for these two side panels, my base pieces, and don't use dimensionals, use tape or use glue because we want to fit a lid over top of this box. If you start using dimensionals, the measurements that I give you for the lid won't fit, okay? So you need two of these pieces. They are going to measure 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then the paper that goes on top of them is the patterned paper. So it's 1 1/2 by, oh sorry, no, yeah, 1 1/2, that's correct, and 3 1/2, okay? So those will just get nicely layered up in a minute. And then you're going to need two little rectangles for the sides here. This is 1 3/4 by 2 inches, and its layer would then be 1 1/2 by 1 3/4. Okay, so we're going to attach all of those. Once again, this base was 1 3/4 by 3 inches for this one here. I'll put both of those on. Like so. Again, feel free to use tape. Or feel free to use the glue, whatever you'd like, or our seal is fantastic for this kind of a job as well. You can't use the seal if you're putting the pieces on the completed box, which is also a reason I like to do it while it's on the table. And then these pattern papers, again, 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. Okay, nicely centered. All right, and then the little side pieces here. This guy was 1 3/4 by 2 inches. And its layering piece is 1 1/2 by 1 3/4 inches. Go. Perfect. Okay, so now that you have all your pieces on, go ahead and take all the tape off, or if you've got your glue on there, that's great. You're ready to go. And we're going to attach our box together. There we go. Okay, so these little flaps are going under the big rectangles. And I don't even bother looking on the inside right away. I just make sure that my outsides are lined up, that I've got a nice line right here. And then you can just go ahead and press right along that line. Your inside will be lined up because we've already cut and measured properly. Okay, so again, focus on your outside. Make sure that is lined up beautifully and just squeeze it nicely. Just keep going around. I like to make sure both of these pieces are inside before I keep going, because if one of them's out, then you end up having to shove it in to the finished box here. But just let it sit on the inside of your box, and you'll come over and make sure it's lined up in the end. Okay, so there we go. Super cute little box that honestly you could just pile some goodies in and put some cellophane around and present to someone. But I thought the lid is the most beautiful thing, so this is what we're going to make next. All right, so what you need to do your lid is, so unfortunately this is using a die, and I got this idea from somebody on Pinterest. She had made a smaller box with this die, and I really liked the idea, but I couldn't for the life of me find her name. So if I find it, I will put the credit in the comments. But she used these dies from our Christmas catalog here. You may not have noticed them at all because they're kind of hidden in the Halloween and kind of autumn section. So let me find them so that I can just give you a little heads up of what they're called. Okay, so these guys here, you may not have seen them because you're kind of thinking, oh, this is a Halloween-y type thing. These celebration labels dies are amazing. They're meant to go as toppers for some of the bags, but we're going to use one to make a box lid, and we're using the largest size here. But you can see they come in many layers, and I really hope this set carries over because it's really, really nice. Okay, so we're using the largest die, and with it you have magically cut out a soft suede piece. Okay, so if you like, you could run an embossing folder over it. I'm just going to show you how to make it with the plain piece because you can see my score lines a lot nicer. What I did with my sample was I used the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder, and you'll want to run that through first and then go and do your score lines after this, okay? But I wanted you to be not confused by what I was showing you. So bring in your scoreboard once more. Let me line this up. Okay, and so you're going to make sure this is lined up as much as you can to the side and the top. It's really just kind of touching the top. But you're going to score at 1 inch on all 4 sides. Just like we did 2 inches on the box, you're doing 1 inch. Okay, so nice and slow because you want to make sure you're staying in the right groove. 1 inch here, turn, and then keep going and go 1 inch all the way around. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whoop, don't move. There we go. Okay, so just like we did with the box base, you are going to grab your stylus and we're going to make sure to fold on all the lines. You are dealing with a lot skinnier of a piece in some sections, so just be gentle. Make sure you're folding very nicely because sometimes these little guys can get bent It doesn't really matter, they're getting tucked under the box, but you'll feel better if you're not bending things. Okay, so nice crisp lines like so. Okay, so you can see we've had a lot of fun with this. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the box. So I like to keep the horizontal facing me. I'm going to take my scissors and cut up the little score lines on either side of this large rectangle space. Okay, so one flap and two flaps, just like our box. We're going to flip this all the way over, so then we're doing the opposite side and cutting twice again, like so. Okay, now we're going to flip this over, and your glue dots are going to be your best friend for this section, simply because these little flaps are so tiny that it's really hard to get your seal actually working in there. So you do want to be able to just grab a glue dot and stick it onto the little sections here. Okay, this will be really nice to work with. So I'm going to go around and do 4 of them, like so. Right on there. You can also use tape or glue as well for this, but seal is not the greatest in these little spaces. So I would suggest, once more, we're going to decorate partially the top of our box. Okay, so we'll save the flower to put on later, but I really want to get this paper on there. Okay, so I have 3 pieces, just move that aside for a sec, 3 pieces that I'm going to work with, and I am actually using dimensionals underneath the jade piece. So you can, if you'd like, you can go ahead and put dimensionals under this piece. So I have cut it at 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 of an inch. Okay. There we go. It's a nice supportive base. You want lots of dimensionals because we're putting a lot of weight on there. And put that right in the center of this space. Okay, so once again, that was 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. Now comes our next 2 layers, and these ones I just added with some tape. You can use seal. So we're adding a Whisper White cardstock, and that is going to measure 2 1/8 by 3 5/8. You can go down by a full 1/4 inch if you want, but I just really wanted that subtle border. Okay, so this was 2 1/8 by 3 5/8. That goes just straight on top, and you can see it's just really, really subtle, giving the jade underneath and the pattern paper that we're going to use now. So this guy is 2 inches by 3 1/2. Like so. Okay, now go ahead and close your box up, or your lid up, pardon me. So tucking those pieces under, you'll notice it doesn't go all the way down. There's only, sorry, I'm trying to get you into focus. Nope, there we go. You won't have a line that goes all the way down. There'll be just 2 lips that meet each other, and that's okay. So keep going around, nice and firm pressure in those corners. There we go. Okay, so you can keep working on your lid while it's on the table, or if you want, you can grab your box and go ahead, put this on top, like so. See, fits nice and snug. And we're going to decorate the rest of this, okay? So I have a couple little pieces, and I'm just going to show you how I assemble them. Okay, so my first little trick for you guys, I cut out my poinsettias using the red velvet paper. So I need 2 of the largest size and 2 of the smallest size. You can use the medium ones if you want, but that's what I did. 2 of the largest, 2 of the smallest. And what I do with my poinsettia dies, if you can see, I actually drew a Sharpie line just across one of the petal sets because these are all different. So if I was to try and line that up, not working. Line that up, not working. You can see how frustrating it would be if you're trying to line this up all the time. So I just figured out the way that it goes, put a Sharpie line across one of the petal sets, and now every time that I put this into my Big Boss machine, it will come out perfectly lined up. Okay? So let's start building. What I'm going to do first is grab some dimensionals, and I'm going to put one of my little pieces attached to one of my big pieces. Okay? So you can, if you want, do more dimensionals between layers, but what I found was it was a little high if I did that the whole way. So you can just also grab a glue dot and attach that second small piece and the second large one. Okay? You're only putting dimension between the 2 sizes of the flowers. Okay, like this. On the back, before we start building anything, we're going to attach our leaves and our branches. So I like to cheat, and I just put tape across the back of them because nobody's going to see it. The only person who knows what's back there is me. So if I nicely hold up my flower, I'd like to put a leaf up in this corner. So I'm going to take a piece of tape and just slide it right across the back. That's the only attachment he needs. Okay? And then I would like to put my next leaf kind of opposite to that. So you can either go directly opposite or just one flower section off, and then just put another piece of tape. See? You've got a cute little flower building, and you're not killing yourself trying to attach little tiny adhesive to things like this. Okay, tucking our branch under here, and like we've done before, piece of tape across, and then grab your other little branch. These I've cut all from that poinsettia set. So I use the soft suede for these little twigs, just jade for the leaves, and the red velvet for my poinsettias. Okay. So voila, nice and beautiful. Time to put some dimensions on there. So just grab a few, anywhere that's kind of hidden all the way around. That's where you're going to want these. I guess not too high up on this leaf because he's just going to come off the edge. There we go. And then this can go just right on the top, like so. Okay, now I've unfortunately ran out of my pearls, but these you can see are absolutely gorgeous. They came in the same suite that the poinsettias did, and they're just a trio of pearls kind of within a silver little base. So I attached this just with a rhinestone. But my last little tip is this sign. So this is from the Hippo Happiness set, actually, this little stitched frame. And we're using a stamp from the Poinsettia Petals that just says Happy Holidays. So I'm going to stamp that in just jade nice and quickly for you. So tap, 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 so you're not getting ink all over your stamp. Right in the middle. And pop this guy up with dimensionals, because we love dimensionals. And then you can just tuck it at an angle, kind of into this space here. All right, there we go. So there's your box. Let's just pretend it's this one that has a nice little jewel in it, because it really does make a very big difference. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed today's project. I will post the measurements for you later this afternoon, but I hope you're having fun on your Tuesday and that you're able to come back and just try to recreate this box later. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Hey, hold on, just a sec.